Somewhere in the ocean right now, there's a shark that has never stopped moving. Not for a second. Not to eat. Not to rest. Not even to sleep. It hasn't paused once since the day it was born, and it's not going to pause today, tomorrow, or ever, until the day it dies. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. For some species, stopping isn't just unusual. It's a death sentence. Literally. If certain sharks stop swimming, they suffocate. They drown. In water, while surrounded by the exact thing they need to breathe. That sounds like a design flaw so catastrophic it shouldn't exist. Evolution usually fixes problems like this. And yet here we are, hundreds of millions of years into shark evolution, and some of the ocean's most successful predators are still trapped in a system that requires constant, unbroken motion just to stay alive. So what's actually going on? Why would a creature evolve a survival strategy that sounds more like a curse? Let's start with the mechanics, because the answer is genuinely wild once you understand how a shark's gills work. Most fish have a muscular pumping system. They can actively push water over their gills using cheek and throat muscles, kind of like a built-in bellows. This lets them sit still on the ocean floor, hover in place, take a break, and still breathe just fine. But a specific group of sharks, including great whites, makos, and whale sharks, never developed that pumping mechanism efficiently enough to rely on it. Instead, they use something called ram ventilation, which is exactly as blunt as it sounds. They have to physically swim forward, mouth open, forcing water through their gills using pure momentum. No forward motion means no water flow. No water flow means no oxygen extraction. No oxygen means the shark suffocates, even though it's floating in an ocean full of the stuff it needs. Think about how strange that actually is for a second. You are, right now, sitting somewhere breathing without thinking about it. Air just flows in and out because your lungs do the pumping work automatically. Now imagine if the only way you could breathe was by literally running forward with your mouth open, all day, every day, forever, and the moment you stopped jogging, you'd asphyxiate standing in a room full of oxygen. That's not an exaggeration. That's an accurate description of what obligate ram ventilating sharks are doing every single moment of their existence. But here's where the story gets even more complicated, because swimming constantly isn't just about breathing. It's also the only thing keeping these sharks from sinking. Most bony fish have something called a swim bladder, a gas-filled internal organ that lets them adjust their buoyancy and just hang in the water column effortlessly, like a fish-shaped balloon calibrated to float exactly where it wants to be. Sharks don't have one. Instead, sharks rely on a giant oil-filled liver, which is less dense than water and provides some lift, combined with cartilage instead of heavy bone, which helps keep their overall body lighter. But even with all of that working in their favor, it's still not enough on its own. Without forward motion generating lift across their pectoral fins, the same way an airplane wing generates lift by moving through air, many sharks would simply sink toward the ocean floor. So they're not just swimming to breathe. They're swimming to stay afloat. Two separate, both individually mandatory, biological demands, both solved by the exact same nonstop movement. Now here's the question you're probably already asking. If stopping means suffocating and sinking, how does a shark ever sleep? Because every animal needs some form of rest, and a shark that literally cannot stop moving for even one moment seems like it should be perpetually, catastrophically exhausted. The answer is that sharks don't sleep the way you do, and honestly, the way they've solved this problem is one of the more elegant workarounds in the entire animal kingdom. Sharks appear to rest by entering something closer to a low-power mode rather than full unconsciousness. Researchers have observed sharks swimming in a slow, almost autopilot-like state, using ocean currents to reduce how much active effort their muscles need to put in, essentially letting the water do a chunk of the work while their brain activity drops. Some sharks position themselves in specific current channels almost like gliding on a conveyor belt, getting enough forward motion for gill function without needing to actively power through the water themselves. It's less falling asleep and more like switching your car into cruise control on a downhill stretch. You're still moving. You're just not working nearly as hard to do it. And it turns out not every shark is trapped in this system at all, which makes the whole situation even more interesting. Some species, including nurse sharks and several types of bottom-dwelling sharks, do have that muscular pumping mechanism other fish rely on. They can pull water over their gills using cheek muscles alone, which means they can settle motionless on the sea floor for hours at a time, resting in caves or under ledges like it's nothing. So this isn't a shark-wide rule. It's specifically the big, fast, open ocean predators, the ones built for speed and constant hunting, that got locked into the nonstop motion lifestyle. It's almost like evolution handed out two completely different survival strategies to the same family of animals and just let them figure out which one worked for their lifestyle. And that's really the key to understanding why this seemingly terrible design flaw actually makes total evolutionary sense. These fast-swimming, ram-ventilating sharks didn't evolve to be efficient at rest. They evolved to be apex hunters that are always ready, always moving, always capable of explosive acceleration the instant prey appears. There's no version of a great white's ecological niche that rewards sitting still. Sitting still means missing meals in open water where prey is sparse and constantly moving. So evolution essentially made a trade. It sacrificed the ability to rest completely in exchange for a body permanently primed for pursuit. A predator, that is, for all practical purposes, always hunting, even when it looks like it's just cruising along doing nothing in particular. There's something almost poetic about a creature that has existed in something close to its current form for over 400 million years, older than trees, older than Saturn's rings, still operating under a rule this unforgiving. Sharks survived multiple mass extinctions. They survived the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. They've outlasted ice ages, continental shifts, entire evolutionary branches of ocean life rising and disappearing around them. And through all of it, this specific requirement never went away. Move or die? Not eventually. Not dramatically. Just quietly, constantly, every single second of their entire existence. A nonstop biological metronome ticking since before complex trees existed on land. So next time you picture a shark, don't just picture the teeth, the fin cutting through the surface, the classic movie music. Picture something that has been in perpetual motion for longer than most of the natural world has existed in its current form. A creature whose entire survival depends on never once believing it's earned a break. It's not swimming because it's restless. It's not swimming because it's hunting, necessarily, in that exact moment. It's swimming because in the most literal biological sense possible, stopping was never an option evolution left on the table. For some sharks, motion isn't a behavior. It's the entire condition of being alive.